Oh, hey there. This is going to be an overview of the tremolo portion of the odd tremendous dual tremolo and control voltage generator. Yeah, that's right. It's a tremolo. It can go really fast, like up into low ring mod territory. I promise the LED looks better in person. It can also go really slow, like watching paint dry territory. The idea behind having such a slow LFO is not just for this pedal, but also thinking of the CV outputs and being able to modulate other pedals or synths via those CV synths. It's still on, it's just now starting to taper off. Alright, let's turn the rate back up. There's two foot switches. The one on the left is the over, and that engages the pedal as is. It's essentially your bypass. While the under foot switch on the right engages your presets, which are stored underneath. You can have up to 7, and you'll notice that the orange LED blinks to help you know when it's changed. If you want to save an over parameter set to an under preset, hold down both foot switches at the same time. You'll see the LEDs do a little spin, and then it's saved. Saving will include the 4 knobs on top, the ramping toggles on the left, as well as the attack and release knobs, also for ramping. For those who don't know, ramping is kind of like a simplified automation. There are the 3 toggles correlated with volume, depth, and rate. And if it's on, the parameter will go from 0 to whatever level the knob is at over the time of the attack or release being when the pedal is disengaged. I'm going to turn all 3 on for this next part. If you don't want ramping on, there's 2 ways you can do it. You can either have the knobs at 0 or the toggle switches off. You can hear how smooth that goes in and out. You can apply it for all 3 of them, you can apply it for just a couple, it's up to you. So what we haven't touched on yet are the 3 toggle switches on the right, which are your global settings. Those are not saved to a preset, and we're going to go over those next. Alright, for the global toggle settings, we're going to start at the top and work our way down. The first one has to deal with grid. Grid is a fancy schmancy way of saying tempo synced. In the left position, grid is off, and your rate is free running. In the middle position, grid is on. Things are tempo synced. And that tempo sync can come from one of 3 places. The first is the under presets. You can have a bass clock saved there, which you can save a tap tempo or your MIDI clock. Gives away the others. The second, input MIDI clock coming from an outside source. And the third is tap tempo. And the way you get tap tempo is by flipping the grid switch to the right. When you do that, the under foot switch has become the input for your tap tempo. It's always going to take the last 2, give it a few hits to, get that feeling smooth. And once you've got your tap tempo, now you can flip the grid switch back to the middle, and your under foot switch resumes its prior role. Your tap tempo will stay present until you turn grid off, and that'll delete it. But while the tap tempo is still on, feel free to save it to one of the presets to use it for later. Alright, moving down. The next one has to deal with ramping style. In the left, it's off, in the middle, crossover, and on the right, parallel is on. We're going to start with the middle. With crossover on, the foot switches will fade from one to the other if one is already engaged. So right now we have over on. When we turn on under, it's going to fade from left to right. It's doing this at the rate of the attack saved with the under preset. When we go back to over, it's doing it at the rate of the over attack. When fading from left to right or reverse, all ramping parameters are engaged automatically each time, so you'll have a smooth transition without having to remember what was saved to the under preset. We'll flip it to the right for parallel mode. In parallel, both sides will ramp independently, And it's the second of 2 ways to get into dual mode. You have a dual tremolo. You hear the under come up at its own ramping rate. I do think that in dual, it just sounds better if they're at like rather different speeds, or if the pedal is synced with grid on. Whichever side you want to turn off, just press that foot switch as you usually will, and it'll ramp out or just disengage. I'm going to turn the toggle to the left, and now ramping style is off. Or you could think of it as reset mode. Reset because if one of the parameter sets is on, over, and you engage the other, under, it's going to reset or start at the beginning of under's ramping cycle. I'm not going to demonstrate this one in order to keep the video a little shorter, and we're going to move on to the last global toggle switch. Alright, it's a new day, a new camera angle. I'm going to plug in my pedal board in order to showcase a couple gain volume aspects of the pedal. We're going to have 2 overdrives on, and the deluxe reverb is up to 10. It's going to still get very quiet is what I'm showcasing, and there's enough headroom to handle a good amount of drive beforehand. Alright, you get the picture. Back to the programming, let's hit this last global toggle switch. Alright, so this thing has been in the right position the whole time, and what that does is that it has both foot switches in toggle or latching mode, which is pretty much does what you would expect a foot switch to do. When you press it on, it stays on, and press it again to turn it off. If we flip the toggle to the middle, now it's in split mode, and then it has the left foot switch in toggle and the right under foot switch is in momentary. This can be really cool to punch in the effect. It can also be nice to have over on, keep it on, and then punch in a different preset with under. It can kind of be your power up again, especially using the crossover mode. If you flip it to the left, they're both in momentary. For some fast action punch in tremolo. There's some other tricks you can do with this, so I'm going to save that for another video. Alright, one more thing I almost forgot. The first of 2 ways to get into dual mode is to double tap the foot switches. Now we're dueling. This obviously gets a bit quieter because it's cutting out a lot of your signal. So dial back that depth. If the bottom global toggle is in the right position, then you can hold down the under foot switch to edit the parameter set. This helps you dial in your dual mode to a more tasteful place.